Yes, Swami.
Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Now, last session, we started the second chapter, Kenopanishad. Started with the first mantra. Yadi manya se suvedeti daharam eva api nunam tvam veta brahmanah rupam yadasya tvam yadasya deveshvatha nu mimamsyam eva te manya viditam. So here the preceptor, the master, the guru hastily adds that if you think that you have known but little only. And what you have known, that has to be asserted. Because what was explained was only the Sopadik Brahma, Sopadik Atma, Sopadik Satya, by the Shruti Mata as well as the Guru, the pure self. So, we have to gain the awareness, the direct subjective awareness, without the upadhi, without the conditionings. So this is an important aspect. Without the conditioning, it has to be gained. What was explained to us was only the sopadik, and that is the only way it can be put into words. Without the upadhis, it can't be put into words at all. With the help of the conditionings, the absolute truth is kind of, sort of being explained. And then, of course, only a mind which is calm and peaceful, undisturbed, can realize the self. So, what disturbs the mind is, of course, the vasanas. And in our last session, we saw that the various techniques are given in the Shastras to reduce the vasanas to a great extent. It cannot be completely nullified or made zero, because some vasanas are very strong and they have to be experienced and exhausted. But many vasanas which are mild one or medium one, those can be exhausted. Those can be eliminated through different sadhanas like Japa Yoga, Nishkam Karma Yoga, Pandukya Mudra, Sukta Vajrasan, Chidakas Dharana, Pratipaksha Bhavana. And these are the various techniques given in different texts. In Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Kriya Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. So, now the master is cautioning the disciple if he thinks he has known. So he cautions him, you have known, but just a little. And then, of course, in the second mantra, the disciple says what he has known, what he has understood. He also admits that na aham manye suveda iti. no na veda iti vedacha ya naha tad veda no na veda iti vedacha. So now he also admits that I don't think I know it well. But at the same time, he says that it is not that I do not know it at all. So I also know, but then he's not too sure. He can't say that he doesn't know. He can't say that he knows it well. But then after hearing the master, at least he has come to this conclusion that he is not apart from that absolute truth. The first question, the first mantra itself in the first chapter, he says that Kene Shitam, directed by whom, powered by whom, all the senses, mind, intellect function. So his own senses are functioning, his own mind, intellect are functioning. So obviously that absolute truth which the master spoke of, that is very much there within him, which is powering his senses, his mind and intellect. So he is not apart from that absolute truth. It is closest to him. At the same time, he doesn't know it as the aparoksha bodha or subjective awareness. He has heard the paroksha jnana, but the direct subjective awareness he has not known. So, only thing is that it can't be known as an object of knowledge and can't be unknown because it is my own essential nature, as it is not apart from my own existence. So here, the sadhak, the seeker's progress is in stages beyond the objective knowledge or paroksha jnana is the subjective self. The problem with understanding Vedantic truths is the limitations of words. That which is beyond the words can never be put into words. What can be explained to the words is with the help of the upadhis, with the help of certain examples, and it can be pointed out, indicated. Like the example that we are taken is that electricity can't be explained to a layman what exactly it is because it can't be seen by the eyes. But then its effect can be shown through electrical gadgets. If a bulb is glowing, okay, the power that makes the bulb glow, that is called as electricity. The fan is moving, the power that makes the fan move, that is called electricity. So in terms of conditionings of electrical gadget, electricity is explained in a limited way, very limited. So understand that to be electricity, what it moves, that which makes the fan move or makes the bulb glow or makes the heater heat and so on. Then we were discussing the third mantra of this second chapter. Yasya amatam tasya matam matam yasya na vedasah avidnyatam vijnatatam vijnatam avijanatam avidnyatam vijanatam vijnatam avijanatam. So this is a very contradictory kind of statement and this confuses most. You see, if it is said that he understands, who doesn't comprehend it or doesn't comprehend, and he doesn't understand who has comprehended it, and it is unknown to the great masters also. But to the ignorant, it is as if known. So when this statement comes, it is quite confusing. All knowledge is always through the limited instruments of senses, mind, and intellect. So this sopadik atma, the self with conditioned self rather, but not the pure truth. So the conditioned self also, it can be explained through the limited instruments or the conditionings. So now, Guru, of course, accepts the what the sadhak said in the previous mantra. Something is understood, something is not understood, something is taken as it is my own existence. If that absolute truth is manifesting through me, which is making my sense organs, mind, and intellect function. So that is the principle of existence. So that is within me, that is pervading this form and is beyond the form. So it is not something that can be rejected. It is not something from which I am apart. Neither of that is there. So here, of course, instead of the charma chakshu or the gross instruments which can perceive the gross objects of this world, what is required is the jnana chakshu, the eye of wisdom. And that is what is required. So self has no knower as such. Self itself is pure awareness. There is not something, the two entities. There is self and then there is a knower of self. Two different entities. No. It is just one at the same. It is not different. So therefore, the self has got no knower other than itself, awareness. Now, in our last session, we also saw that what is preventing us from knowing that self, from being aware of that self? Knowing in the sense that being aware, having the direct subjective awareness of that pure self, aporoksha bodha, subjective awareness. That is because of our own ego that identifies with the conditionings and then takes the conditionings to be the self. So as long as the identification of the conditionings are there, then to comprehend something without the conditioning becomes very difficult. So this ego is the one which identifies. Therefore, in Vedanta, the dissolution of the ego is emphasized upon. Even Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi also, from time and again, he talks about this ego to be dissolved. And then he says that if you go to inquire about this ego, there is no such thing as ego also. So, when we are seeing an illusion, though the absolute truth is very much there, without the substratum of that absolute truth, even illusion is not possible. So even if we are seeing an illusion, we are actually perceiving the absolute truth because of the limitations of the instruments through which we are perceiving the illusion. The absolute truth is not available for our direct subjective awareness. When at a time only one can be perceived, either we see the illusion or we are aware of the absolute truth, one of the two. Simultaneously, both can't be perceived. There can be, I can perceive an illusion of a snake, but at the same time, I cannot perceive the reality of the rope simultaneously. Either I perceive the rope and no snake at all, or if I am perceiving the illusion of a snake, then I have got no perception of the rope. So only one can be perceived. Where ego is there, there is no awareness of God. Where there is no ego, there is only God. So, one of the two. So, this ego is the problem. And when in the deep sleep state, for some short time, when the ego is absorbed into its source, we are the closest to our real self. And therefore, nothing of the waking state or dream state ever disturbs us. And we experience a glimpse of that absolute infinite bliss in the deep sleep state. Because there is a brief absence of or dormant of that ego. Ego is not there. So this is how we have that experience, and therefore everybody wakes up from the deep sleep state and then says that I didn't know anything, but I enjoyed it without enjoying any of the bhoga vastu, the object of indulgence. Yet, after deep sleep state, he wakes up and says, I didn't know anything, but I enjoyed it. So ego is the problem. In Advaita, there is no I, the ego. In the non-dual self, it is not there. And you see, I manifest only when there is something other than I. I am there, then apart from me, then there are other people, other things and beings and so on. That is there. If nothing exists other than I, then there will be no notion of I also. I only manifest only because, like in deep sleep state, nothing is there. So there is no ego also. Ego is also temporarily in a dormant state because nothing else is there. Even in the dream state also, when we see that I am there, then I am seeing a dream, and in the dream so many objects are there, so many people are there, so many experiences I am undergoing and so on. There also the duality is there. I and then something I am seeing there, perceiving there. But in the deep sleep state, then that I is also not there. And therefore we are closest to our real self in the deep sleep state. So this I notion, only when it appears, only when there is something other than I. When there is nothing, then this I notion also is not there. And therefore it is called as non-dual reality. It is not that I and then something else is there, or I alone is there. That I notion will not come at all then. If only I am the only one existing, that absolute truth is the only thing that is existing, then there will be no I notion also. I notion will only appear if there is something other than I. Otherwise, there is no question of any I notion in that. So, both the illusion, the perception of the illusion and the reality simultaneously is not possible. We can either see mirage water or we can see the desert sand. Mirage water and the desert sand simultaneously on the same spot we cannot see. We can see either the post or the ghost. Post and the ghost simultaneously can't be seen in the same spot, or either the snake or the rope. Snake and the rope at the same spot is not possible. Either the illusion of the snake or the reality of the rope. Illusion of the ghost or the reality of the post. Illusion of the mirage water or the reality of the hot desert sands. You see? So that is possible. When the ego gets dissolved, then spontaneously, even in the deep state of samadhi, deep meditative state, great masters who have realized spontaneously the words must have come out. Aham Brahmasmi, I am the absolute truth, and so on. It is not the ego talking about it. No, there is no question of any ego there. It is spontaneously manifesting in the deep state of samadhi, and the person will not be even aware of that, whether he said this. Couple of example comes to the mind. There was a great Sufi saint and a master. His name was Hussein bin Mansur al-Hallaj. If Hussein bin Mansur al-Hallaj, when he realized the self, spontaneously the words came out. Ana al-Haq. Ana in Arabic means I. Anal Haq means Haq is the truth. I am the truth. Like somebody realizing the truth here. In our part of the world, we'll say Aham Brahmasmi. So spontaneously the words came out, Anal Haq, I am the truth. But of course, in that society, in that religion, that society, in that region, saying such a thing is blasphemous. And therefore, whoever was the Sultan, he ordered his head to be chopped off. But when his head was cut off, the same words were coming out, Anal Haq, from his head also and from his body also. And then the Sultan was so furious, he ordered his body to be chopped into small pieces. From each piece, that Anal Haq was coming out. The chant of that Anal Haq was coming out. This is one example. And here, there is another Sufi saint, Hazrat Jalaluddin Rumi. He talks about this experience, this of Hussein bin Mansur al-Hallaj. What he says is that it is a great thing that he has obliterated his limited identity and identified with the absolute. So this is something really great. That is what Hazrat Jalaluddin Rumi said about Hussein bin Mansur al-Hallaj's experience or his awareness of the truth. There is another Sufi saint. His name is Bayezid of Bistam. When he went into deep samadhi, spontaneously the words came out. I am the truth, I am God, I am Allah. And then chanting in that society, that religion, that region, it is blasphemous. When we regained consciousness, when he came out of that samadhi, his disciples told him that you were chanting like this, you were shouting, you were saying that you are Allah, you are the truth and whatnot. Then Bayezid of Bistam said that if I ever said that, that is blasphemous. So now if I go into this deep state of meditation, if ever any such words come out of my mouth, you should take the sword and chop off my head. That is the order this fellow gave. Bayezid of Bistam gave to his disciples. Next time again when he went into samadhi, again spontaneously those words came out. I am the absolute truth, Anal Haq, I am Allah, and all that. Immediately the disciples picked up the sword to chop his head off. But nothing was happening to him. He was in the deep state of samadhi. He didn't know what was going on. Absolutely not identified with the body. He didn't know anything. And then when he came out of samadhi, he saw the disciples were all injured. And then he told them, when I went into this meditation, what were you doing? Fighting amongst yourselves? Then they said, no. Actually, you told us that when you are into meditation and if these words come out, to chop your head off. But whenever we are using a sword on you, it was hitting us only. And that is how we got injured. So, this is a state which is beyond the relative existence, where this is not the ego chanting, Anal Haq or I am Allah or I am God or I am Brahmasmi, something like that. No. So this is beyond that. So these are the examples that come to the mind. So common factor for both that is known and unknown. Something that is known to me, something that is unknown to me. Some things I know, some things I do not know. But what is the common factor for both? The common factor is the knower. I know that I know something, and I also know that I don't know something. So I am the knower of something which is known to me. I am knower of something which is unknown to me. I know that this thing I do not know. I have no knowledge about this. I have knowledge about this. I have no knowledge about that. So I am the knower of both the known and the unknown. That which is unknown to me, I know it very clearly. What things are unknown to me? There is no two ways about it. So the common factor is what? The knower. And the knower is the truth. Knower is the reality, not what is known or unknown. The knower of both known and the unknown. The illuminator, that which illumines both the presence as well as absence. In Panchadashi, we have seen the Natak Dik Prakaran. A stage is there and a drama is going on. And on the stage, the lights are also there. The light is there in the center of the stage. The light is there, which is illuminating the drama. And the drama goes on and the drama ends. The curtain falls. All the actors go to the green room, and the stage is empty. The light is still on, and the light is now illuminating the empty stage, absence of the actors there. So it illumines both the presence as well as absence. It illumines both the known and the unknown, presence and absence, both. So that is the absolute. That is the true self. So what is the sadhan prakriya now? Because sadhana is very important. In Vedanta, there is a theory and then there is a practice. If a philosophy is not practical, it is useless. Like Gurudev used to say, an impractical philosophy has to be thrown into the dustbin. So, if the philosophy is there, there has to be a practical means to realize that, to realize the truth of that philosophy. So, therefore, sadhana is very important. And then, if the practical means are there, then I have to practice it. If I do not practice it, then I will not realize it. So practicing also is important. Okay, so we have understood the philosophy, we have understood the principles of the absolute truth, the Vedantic principles we have understood. Then the practical means to realize it is also given. Having done that, now if you are not practicing, then of course who is to be blamed if you do not realize? So this has to be there. And therefore, as in Swapna and Sushupti, it comes and goes. Jagrata Avastha comes and goes. Swapna Avastha comes and goes. In Jagrata Avastha, we are aware of the Namarupa Jagat. In Swapna Avastha also, Namarupa Jagat is there. But it is the projection of the mind. In the Jagrata Avastha, it is the projection of the total mind. In the Swapna Avastha, is the projection of the individual mind. We see the Namarupa Jagat. And then in the Sushupti Avastha, there is absence of the world of names and forms. But there is the awareness, the presence of an entity is there in the Sushupti Avastha also. Otherwise, we cannot have the memory of the experience of the deep sleep state. Because who can have the memory of any experience? Only the experiencer can have the memory of the experience, not anyone else. So, experiencer of the waking plane of consciousness, the Jagrata Avastha, so he will have the memory of Jagrata Avastha. Experience of the dream state of consciousness, he will have the memory of the dream state. And the experiencer of the deep sleep state, some entity was there to illumine the experience of the deep sleep. Even though the ego was temporarily absent, yet there was something present there because of which we have the memory of our experience of the deep sleep state when we wake up into the Jagrata Avastha. So that principle of existence is there in all the three states. The waking plane, the dream state, as well as the deep sleep state. So we are the pure awareness. As the master says, you are the bodha, the pure awareness. Give up the awareness of other things. And when we give up the awareness of other things, what remains is only awareness. It sounds very simple, but it is not so simple. The instruction of the master is that you are pure awareness. And then, what is the sadhana to be the pure awareness? Then he says, give up the awareness of all the other things and beings. And what remains is only awareness. It is easier said than done. But well, that is what it is, because we are aware of too many things. In Mahabharata, when Dronacharya was teaching archery, so he was asking each one, what do you see? There was a bird that was kept, an artificial one. And then each one he was asking that, what do you see? Oh, I see the bird, the tree, the branches, the leaves and all that thing. Then he asked Arjuna, what do you see? I see the eye of the bird. Immediately Dronacharya told him, shoot it. So now Arjuna had discarded the awareness of everything else except that eye of the bird. Now here in the Adhyatma, in the spiritual practice, what is said is that be aware, just awareness, and give up the awareness of everything else. Non-awareness of everything else, the absence of awareness of everything else, what remains is only awareness there. But we are aware of 1001 things and not the pure awareness itself. That is making us, that is only empowering us to be aware of other things. Without that, we can't be aware of other things also. As we have seen from the beginning of this Upanishad itself, it all started with the sense perception. The disciple asking the question that what makes the eyes see or the ears hear and so on, and the mind feel. So that is the power, that is the pure self, that is the power, that is the absolute truth that makes the eyes perceive, the ears see, hear, and the mind feel, intellect think, and so on. It really means everything. And then discarding all that and then just remaining steady without being aware of anything else. What is perceived through the senses, mind, and the intellect. Our perception or our awareness of things other than our own self is through the sense organs, mind, and intellect. And if sense organs, mind, and intellect, we are disidentified with that, then there is only awareness. Then there is no awareness of this or that. Then only there is awareness. So, in the Samadhi state also, identifying with the body, senses, mind, and intellect, that is what we lose in the Samadhi state, the ultimate Samadhi state, where there is no identification. And when there is no identification with these instruments, then we have no awareness of the perception of these instruments also. Then what remains is only awareness. So, this is the instruction of the master. And this, as a seeker in Vedanta, this is very important. For aparoksha bodha, for direct subjective awareness, awareness of other things have to be given up. And how do we give up the awareness of other things? Awareness of other things are through only the instruments of the mind, intellect, and the senses. So, to give up that, we have to be disidentified with the sense organs, mind, and intellect. And for that, again, dissolving the ego is there. First, we have to weaken the ego. Now our ego is very strong. I am this, I am that, I am so and so. I, and everything. First, we have to weaken our ego before we can think of dissolving it. The strong ego has to be weakened and then dissolved. Having said that, now we move on to the fourth mantra of this second chapter. Pratibodha viditam matam amrutatvam hi vindate atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate mrutam. Pratibodha viditam matam amrutatvam hi vindate atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate amrutam. So now pratibodha viditam matam. Now who has understood this? Who thinks that there is only one entity in and through all the modifications? Pratibodha viditam matam. Amrutatvam hi vindate. He attains to amrutatva. Atmana vindate viryam. Having attained the self, one attains the strength, real strength, and vidyaya vindate amrutam. So, with the knowledge of this pure self, one attains immortality. So now, truth is other than what is cognized as present or absent. Some things are present, some things are absent, some things are manifest, some things are unmanifest. Something can be perceived, some things cannot be perceived but felt, and so on. So this knower known, jnata and jnaya, is born only by association of the self with buddhi, with the intellect, mind, and the sense organs. So this absolute truth is known well as Sakshi. Now, Sakshi, when we talk about, immediately it comes to the mind, somebody is a witness and witnessing something. So again here duality is born. I am the witness and I am witnessing something. So this misunderstanding can happen. In the absolute truth, when it is said there is nothing to be witnessed, that Sakshi itself is the absolute truth. Like the Sakshi of the waking plane of consciousness, dream state of consciousness, and deep sleep state of consciousness. Jagra, Swapna, and Sushupti. What is important to understand here is that the continuity factor in all the three planes of consciousness taken to be the absolute truth. So, the seer is the only entity. Other than seer, there is nothing. The seer should not be considered as one who is seeing something. Generally, seer is there, seen is there, and something is being seen. The triputi is there. Knower, known, and knowledge. Then the experiencer, that which is experienced, and the relationship between the two called experience. These are the triputis. So in the absolute truth, this triputi is absent. Seer, seen, and seeing, again the triputi is there. There is no triputi that is absent in the absolute truth. So this consciousness is different from the vrittis it illumines. You see? It illumines the thoughts, no doubt, but it is not the thought. Without it, the thoughts can't be illumined, but the thoughts are just a ripple that appears and goes. So now, the one who realizes the self, Atmana Vindate Viryam, one who realizes the self, he attains the strength, the power, the vigor, And one who has this knowledge of the absolute, becomes immortal. Now, one who has the knowledge of the absolute becomes the immortal. Does it mean that at this moment in time, we are not immortal? The understanding has to be, when it is said Amrutam, Vindate Amrutam. What is this immortality? Generally, we understand that mortal is that the body dies, so we are all mortals. One day the body will die. Immortality is that if somehow by some trick, if we can continue our life in the same body, that is immortality. No. What is immortality? That which is immortal, that has to be understood. Otherwise, mortal and immortal, that again comes in the realm of duality, dualism, the pairs of opposites. You see, mortal, immortal, dharma, dharma, papa, punya, swarga, narka, and all those things, they are in the realm of the pairs of opposites. So what is considered as mortal and immortal? It is again in a relative sense only what is said mortal and immortal. For example, just before the monsoon is approaching, one insect is seen hovering around the lamps and lights and things like that. Their entire lifespan is barely a couple of hours. They are born, they grow, they breed, and they die in a couple of hours. And then, from their standpoint, if they look at the lifespan of a human being, 60, 70, 80, oh, they are immortal. So it is only a comparative way of talking mortality and immortality as regards the forms are concerned, names and forms are concerned. Some people are blessed with being immortal for one yuga, some for all the 4 yugas, and so on. Then after that, the dissolution is there. Even the forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesha, they also will dissolve. Their forms also are limited by time, so their forms will dissolve. But then compared to human form, they are immortal. Brahmaji, Vishnu, Shiva, so they are immortal, the forms. But their forms will also dissolve. So this immortality has to be understood that it is not nothing to do with the form. Form, that which is created in time, it will perish in time. It is limited by time. If form is there, it is limited by both time as well as space. So if it is created in time, it will be dissolved in time. It will be destroyed in time. So therefore, as we have seen earlier also, generally what people mean, common man mean by, what they mean by immortality is that somehow I have to survive in this body and no death should come to me. That is not possible. It is like asking for a permanent job in a temporary department. A department is created for a particular project, and once that project is over, the department is dissolved. No, I want to get a permanent job in that department. No, the department is temporarily created and it will get dissolved as soon as the project is over. So this body is a temporary department and we want to live permanently in that. It is not possible. So what is understood by immortality is that whether the form is there or not there, presence or absence of the body doesn't affect the existence of that absolute truth. There is no question of any mortal or immortality in that absolute truth. There is no notion of birth or death in that absolute truth. Like the other day we saw, as regards sun is concerned, there is no notion of darkness. If sun is asked, tell us something about this darkness, sun will say, what is this darkness? I have never experienced it. I have never seen it. Bring the darkness. I want to study how it is. It is not possible because it is not there. In the absolute truth, there is no notion of birth or death, mortality or immortality. That alone is there. So that has to be understood when it is said here, Amrutam Bhavati, Vindate Amrutam. So it is not with reference to that. Amrutam means what we identify falsely with something, and then uh, when that gets destroyed, okay, then that has got destroyed. I was not immortal in that. Somebody dies, somebody is born, somebody dies. No. So this is going beyond the cycle of birth and death. Absolute truth was never in the realm of the cycle of birth and death ever. There is no question of any birth and death for that. And therefore, this question of mortality or immortality doesn't arise in that absolute truth. It is only in the relative existence when things are being explained, something that is mortal, something that is immortal, something that has got a very long lifespan and so on, but not otherwise. So there is no notion of it. For sun, there is no notion of darkness. What darkness? There is no such thing. And darkness is not a thing at all. Darkness is not a thing which can be studied scientifically. Light is a thing which can be studied scientifically and can be harnessed for our purposes also. But not darkness. Darkness is a non-entity. It doesn't have. It is only absence of light. Darkness, if it has to be defined, it is only absence of light. That's all. It is not an entity. It is not a thing to be studied or exchanged or something like that, or created or something like that. No, it is merely absence of light. Light is something that can be studied. Its intensity is vary. It has got, light is also a source of energy. It is also an energy and so on, but not darkness. So therefore, this notion of mortality and immortality, birth and death is not there in the absolute truth. So here, realizer of the self goes beyond the cycle of birth and death. As long as that realizer of self considered himself to be a jiva, identified with his body, mind, intellect equipment, and he sees people being born and people dying also around him. So for him, this mortal and immortal was something. Mortal means one day I will die. Immortal is something who never doesn't die. So that was, as long as he was a jiva in the darkness of ignorance about his own real self. Once that awareness comes, then where is the question of mortality and immortality and all that, birth and death and all those things? It is beyond that. So when such word comes in the text, we have to understand it very clearly, not have two ways about it. Then we move on to the last mantra of this chapter, second chapter. Iha chet avedita avedit atha satyamasti न चेत इह अवेदित महति विनष्टि भूतेषु भूतेषु विचित्य धीराः प्रेत्य अस्मात् लोकात् अमृता भवन्ति इति द्वितीय खंडः. So now here इह वेद अवेदित अथ सत्यम अस्ति न चेत इह अवेदित महति विनष्टि भूतेषु भीतेषु विचिन्त्य धीराः प्रेत्य अस्मात् लोकात् अमृता भवन्ति. So now, what is this? Iha chet avedit, one who knows this truth. Then satyam asti, then he realizes the truth. One who knows this truth, that is the very essence of his own real self. Nachet iha avedit mahati vinashtihi, the one who doesn't know his real self while very much living in this world, then he attains a lot of loss. This is not good. So that is a great destruction for such a one who doesn't know his self. Now, why it is said so? Because taking human form is very rare. We have to pass through so many 8.4 million yonis forms to come to the human form. And having come to the human form, that itself is a rarity. Having come to the human form, to be blessed by the five sense organs functioning properly, and a mind also, and an intellect also, to be blessed by that, that is even rarer. And then, having got the human form, blessed by a properly functioning sense organs, mind and intellect, a healthy body, healthy mind, physically and psychologically fit, and then not taking to the spiritual path. That is even worse. Losing a golden opportunity. Because we do not know what form, if you do not realize this here. Now here, the master clearly says that Mahati vinashtihi is a great destruction if you don't realize this self. See, the simple thing is that why it is said great destruction? Because we do not know what we have kept in our sanchit karma. And what type of experiences we may have to go through. Because what karmas will fructify when we get the next form, if you do not realize it now in this life itself before dropping the body. You do not know that. Why leave it for some other birth? Have we not suffered enough in this life and maybe previous millions of lives? So there should be an urgency. I don't want to suffer anymore now. This is enough now. But the surprising thing is that there are so many people on their deathbed saying, this life was very bad for me. I suffered a lot. I hope I get a better life next birth. Now, even having suffered so badly in this life, he still wants to take another birth. Shouldn't he pray that this is last, I don't want to take any form, Lord, don't give me any other form in any loka. Instead of that, he's saying that this was a very bad life, I suffered a lot, I hope I get a better life in my next birth. That means after suffering so heavily also, one doesn't realize that Viveka doesn't come. Why do you want to take it again? Why not end it here itself? Now itself, we do not know what we have kept in our sanchita karma. So therefore, here the master emphasizes Mahati vinashtihi, the great destruction. Having taken this form, which is very rare, and then not realizing the self in this very life. So therefore, the emphasis is that in this birth itself, we have to attain the highest birthright, realization of the self. So, we are all blessed that we are on the spiritual path. This is a very rare thing. From millions and millions of billions of people, very few take to spiritual path. To come in the human form, to be blessed with the well-functioning senses, mind and intellect, and then to come to the spiritual path, that means we must be really blessed. So if we are really blessed, we have to take advantage of that blessing, that grace, and then fulfill the purpose for which we have taken the form. And not drop the body until we realize it. So this is important part. Otherwise, we see so many people, human beings, they are two-legged, but then their existence is only at the level of animals. See, if we live in this world only, eat, drink, procreate, and then defend ourselves, that is what all the animals do. All the four-legged animals, all the creatures, they do the same thing. Eat, sleep, procreate, and then defend themselves. These four things. So food and drink they take, they sleep, they procreate and protect themselves, defend themselves, that's all. And if we end up doing that only, eating, drinking, sleeping, procreating and defending ourselves, keeping ourselves secure and all that thing, what better we are than the animals? We fall in the same category then. Taking the human form and then living like a four-legged creature, it's no good. This is actually an insult to the one who has blessed us with this form, given us an opportunity to rise above that and then go beyond the limitations of time, space, object, and causation. So, what we need to do is that we need to renounce the ego, dilute it, or dissolve it, dissolve the ego, and realize the self. Know God here and now, not postpone it to some other time. Who knows what is kept in storeroom? Who cares about that? This should not be postponed. What makes this self, the I, limited and finite? It is the mamata. Mamata is the mindness, I-ness and mindness. I and mine. I-ness and minus. I am so and so, and this belongs to me. This makes this limited ego. And without this mamata, then the I is paripurna, complete, pure self, shuddha aham. So this mamata is what is causing all the problem. I and mine. And as we say, as earlier we discussed it, awareness. We have awareness of too many things. And then the only simple sadhana is give up awareness of all the other things. And then what remains is only awareness. And here, mamata makes this aham parichinna or limited. When this mamata is not there, then aparichinna self is there. Paripurna. With this, we complete the second chapter of this Kenopanishad. The last chapter remains. Third chapter. Third chapter is basically a story, and the fourth chapter is the explanation of that. And the story is related to what was discussed in the first and the second chapter. This will take up in our next session. Next Friday is Mahashivratri. Mahashivratri is a very auspicious day for all the spiritual seekers. So we should be spending our time in spiritual sadhana, in mananam and nididhyasanam, in studying, reflecting, contemplating, meditating. So next Friday, 8th, Mahashivratri, we will not have a satsang. We'll have it the next Friday after that. Now, if anybody has got any questions to ask, they may ask.
Swamiji, Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om.
Although Mahashivratri is next Friday, but if anybody has listened to today's discourse, the exposition, Mahashivratri is today only, Swamiji. Because through Shravana, we have transcended all our senses, body, mind, intellect, even ahankara also. What the sara, the essence of what you said today is transcending this our superimpositions. And each and every sentence, right from the second chapter, first stanza, and today, was taking us to and will help us in a great way, to a great deal, transcending our body, mind, and intellect. As I said last time, Swamiji, this mind of the pure consciousness or self is more as far as the value is concerned, is more than the gold mine. By merging into that, by dissolving ourselves, our ego, as you said, into that, the source, all the problems that we face in our life in past janmas as well as the present janmas, and even many more to come, I don't know, if we do not realize in this birth, we are going to take, we can take care of all these janmas, Swamiji. Now, Swamiji, today I'll ask one question and then I'll hand over to other speakers, Swamiji. Manolaya, and there is a Manonash. Manolaya means no mind, temporary suspension, and therefore no plurality. That is, we experience in our deep sleep state. Manonash is a permanent suspension, not suspension, destruction of mind. My question is, one who attains that Manonash, for him no plurality, in the sense that he has merged his ego, is totally into the self. But for him, this plurality is absent, Swamiji. Meaning he cannot see the names and the form, Nam Rupi and name and forms of this Jagat. Yes, Swamiji.
See, the thing is that the one who has dissolved his ego, now the one who has dissolved the ego, he will appear to move around in this world like any other being. You see? But now, because the ego is dissolved, there is no karta bhokta in him. And since there is no karta bhokta in him, whatever the destiny of the body is, that the prarabdha karma, whatever is there, that will manifest. Now, what will be manifesting through him is only divinity. The experiences that the prarabdha karma has to go through, that it will be happening, that's no problem. But as regards that Mahatma Ji is concerned, it doesn't affect him at all, because that ego is dissolved, so there is no karta bhokta now. And divinity will manifest as and when the words has to come out of his mouth, it will come. Actions has to be performed through his body, it will be performed. But there is no karta bhokta. It is like the salt doll entering the ocean to investigate, to search for the source, its own source. What will happen to him? That salt doll. Once it goes into the ocean, it cannot come back. As a doll. It dissolves, becomes one with the ocean. You see, it is said that when we go into the dream state and when we see some horrible dream, then we wake up. When we wake up, immediately we are released from all the miserable experiences of the dream world. But then there is no guarantee that when we go to sleep again, maybe another horrible dream will not come. There is no guarantee. It will come. So, Ramakrishna Paramahans used to give a very good example. That once a milk is converted into curd, then it cannot revert back to becoming milk. It will remain curd only. So, this dissolution of ego, that is the toughest part. Because why it is so tough? Only because we have been habituated to identify with the body for millions of lives together. And now we want to reverse it. You see, when a car is driving on the road, car is moving on the road at a speed, a certain speed, and the driver realizes that he is on the wrong track. He should have taken a right turn several miles away before only. So now what will happen? Suddenly he cannot put on the brakes. If he puts the brake suddenly, it will cause an accident. So now he will slow down his vehicle. So he is moving on the wrong track. Further, after knowing that he is on the wrong track, he's still moving on the wrong track, but now he's slowing down. Then when a turn comes where he can take a U-turn, then he takes a U-turn and then moves towards the right turn. And still he is on the wrong track because he has to take that right turn. Now he'll have to take a left turn, the proper road. So it takes time because all these years, all these lives we have been on the wrong track, thoroughly identified with that. Now we want to reverse it. So reversing slows down and then stops, then takes a turn, then we are reversing it. And on that other track, we have to go again, come back and go again. So that takes time. You see? So once we are on the right track, after that, then things become easier. So therefore, initial part of sadhana is really tough. Once we have crossed that stage, then it becomes a little bit easier. The important part is that vairagya has to be there. Without vairagya, it is very, 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 very difficult. And without viveka, that vairagya will not come. And vairagya, avesh, vairagya will not help also. So vairagya is very important. When vairagya is there, that is, I have no desire for anything whatsoever in this world, in this Brahmanda itself. I have got nothing to do with anything. I have no desire for anything. When that vairagya is there, then it becomes easy. Vairagya is the important thing. And more important than vairagya is the mumukshutvam, a burning desire for liberation. In the sadhan chatushtaya, viveka, vairagya, samadhi, shat sampatti, and mumukshutvam is there. If somebody doesn't have viveka or vairagya or shat sampatti also is not there. If mumukshutvam is there, a burning desire for liberation. I don't want anything, but I want to liberate myself from this limited existence. And if whatever is needed for that, I'm prepared to do that. If that burning desire is there, then other three sampatti will come. Viveka, vairagya, and shat sampatti will also come in the sadhana chatushtaya. But at least that should be there, a burning desire for that. So once that is there, then it becomes easier. On the Vedantic path, earlier also we have seen this Kenopanishad itself. This is important. A certain preparation of the mind is required to study the Upanishads also. Because Upanishads, they are the highest text in Sanatana Dharma. Part of the Shruti, part of the Vedas, which comes at the end part of the Veda and therefore called as Vedanta also. So these are the certain factors, and it is not, it may be difficult. It may be very difficult. It may be very, very difficult, but it is not impossible.
Swamiji,
Yes.
I don't know whether it's the right time to ask you, but I want to understand. If the answer is too long or is not premature question, then you please pardon me. In Dakshina Murti Stotram, the very first shlok, it is mentioned that this plurality, something like that, exact words I don't remember, but is like a reflection in the mirror of a city, of a city. Now I understand what he's trying to say is about the reflected consciousness, I think, is talking about where 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 we get all the our perception, sense perception, but it doesn't have a, just like in the mirror, the city does not exist. Just it's a reflection. Is it the same thing which I have understood? And you can also expand on that to bring the clarity in my mind.
See, it is similar to now in Dakshinamurti Sutram, what is seen in the mirror, a reflection, where there is no real city. Same thing can be explained in the Swapna and Jagrata also. Swapnavastha is there is no real city. It is the projection of individual mind. You see everything there. And as long as you are a dreamer in the dream world, that dream world is real to you as much as this waking world is real to you now. You see, but there is no reality to it. It is an individual mental projection. And as long as I am a dreamer, that dream world is real to me. I don't call it as an illusion. Only after waking up, I say that, oh, that was just an illusion. It was just a dream. But did I say that when I was actually going through those experiences, those bad experiences in the dream? No. It was true to me. It was real to me. So it is only projection of the individual mind. And what is this waking world then? Every time we go to sleep, we see a new dream because it is a projection of the individual mind. But every time we wake up, we see the same world. But this also is said as a dream only. Why it is a dream? It is, the difference is only in the individual mind and the total mind. The waking world is a projection of the total mind. But it is nevertheless projection alone. That is individual mind projection. This is total mind projection. Therefore, when we wake up from the sleep, we see the same world. Whereas every time we go to sleep, we see a different dream. There is a different dream world. But again, it is a projection. You see? So this reflection is also a projection only. In fact, in the intellect itself, the consciousness is only reflected consciousness in the intellect. Where the I notion manifests first, and then the identity with the body, mind, intellect, equipment, and all the sansar begins. If that reflection is not there, then nothing is there. Only pure consciousness alone. So if there is a medium to reflect, then there is a problem. And there is no medium to reflect, then the Jiva Bhava is also not there. What is there is only pure self.
Swamiji,
Yes.
when will you shower the Guru Krupa so that we can realize in our Jagrata Avastha that this is our waking, this is a waking dream? I'm very serious in asking this question, Swami.
Grace is always there. The blessings are always there. And the grace manifests in us as we progress in our sadhana.
Swamiji, the last leap, it's so near, but it's very far, it appears.
Yeah, that is the only thing. That is the most important, the last step, the last leap. That is agonizing. And once that is over, that's it.
I think let us develop the Mumukshu Bhav. Then I think we can cross the bridge.
Yes.
And Eureka moment will come.
All of us, without exception, is that pure self. No exception. Nothing less, nothing more. So we'll realize it, definitely.
Okay.
There is no two ways about it.
Yeah, okay. And Yogi Bhai Prakash. Acha, by the way, Swamiji.
Yes.
Amongst us, we have our GKS devotee. He's a son of our very old association, about 25 years. He's a Dutch. Swamiji had given him an Indian name, Jivan. So Jivan, Yogi Bhai, Jivan is there now?
Yeah,
Yogi Bhai?
yeah.
Can you ask Jivan to ask anything or say something? Yogi Bhai.
Just put it.
Get on there.
Yes, Jivan.
Although
Can
I've mainly been listening.
Yeah, can you put your video on so that everybody can see? Swamiji can also.
Yeah, that should be on, right?
Your
I
video
can
is
see
on.
myself.
Yeah, one minute. Yogi Bhai, I'm making you a co-host. You now take over. Yeah, you are made the co-host now. Show him.
Oh, I should be there, right?
Yeah, but you put your video on.
I don't think you have yet done the co-hosting properly.
Jivan was here, Swamiji, at my place the other day on Monday.
Oh, good.
And we nearly 2.5 hours we were there. And even the Chanti and other GKS members were there here. And we met almost personally in person
Yes.
after nearly 4 years, Swamiji.
Oh, good.
Pankaj, I think this is not happening. So what I suggest is you can see the video of Jeevan on your screen.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
Pankaj, can you see the video of Jeevan on your screen?
Yeah. So
Just right click on that and you say Spotlight.
Yeah.
And select
Add.
Should be a settings thing.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Jivan, any question you would like to ask or share something?
No, not in this moment. I've been definitely a bit behind. So I've been catching up mainly.
Yeah, okay, fine. But it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
It was nice.
Okay. Anybody else? Anyway, Swamiji, we can call it a day.
Shall you conclude?
Yeah, yes.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om, Swamiji.
Hari
Hari Om Swamiji. Hari Om.